What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, make sure you leave a comment. Got a good guest on today. He's from California, spent nearly 20 years of his life in federal prison after he moved to Oklahoma. But you know what? I'm going to let Tony tell his story because he can tell it better than I can. Tony, tell the people who you are, where you're from, and talk a little bit about how you landed in federal prison.
Hello, my name's Tony, and first of all, I want to thank Chad for having me on, but not just for having me on, but for everything he's doing for the guys that are locked up. A lot of people don't realize is people in federal prison have a hopeless feeling because for 30 years, ain't nobody was getting out before their date, and nobody was doing 85% of their time. Everybody was doing 87.5% of their time, and on a 20-year sentence, that's 5.5 months or 6.5 months. So it's no joke. But he comes along and now he's helping these guys. He's giving hope to guys because of this First Step Act and putting a lot of effort in his personal time. And I think everyone should recognize that big time. So thank you, Chad. Like I said, my name's Tony, and I'm originally from California. I was born and raised out in San Jose, California. I grew up in the 70s and 80s out there, and everybody knows California people party and stuff like that. So I grew up in my teenage years, and I partied and did everything a normal kid does. I'm not your normal story about some guy that went to prison who comes from a broken home or anything like that. I come from a good home, good mom and dad. My parents divorced when I was a kid, but I had a good stepdad that raised me. So there's no excuse to why I ended up going to prison other than I was just being a knucklehead. But I ended up moving out to Oklahoma in 1996. I came out here on a job. I was out here for 2 months and just absolutely fell in love with the place, man. The people, the weather, everything about it. It's just a fun place to live. And so I ended up coming back and staying. And along with that came my partying. I don't like to refer to it as an addiction or a disease. That's disrespectful to people that have cancer, I think, calling it a disease. But I refer to it as partying. It's a bad decision I made, and I took it with me wherever I went. Like they say, when you wake up, don't matter where you are, you look in the mirror, it's the same person. So you can't run away from who you are. So I came out here and immediately started partying and met a guy that was a really good dude. It turned out to be my fall partner. And he was where I got my hookup at. I was a meth head and turned out he was a really, 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 really big cook out here. And out here, you could get all the stuff to cook. So people were putting together big batches and all the chemicals were easy to get. And it didn't take long, but he realized that he could trust me and stuff like that. And I became his partner, but not partner as in partner in business, but I'd go with him on all the cooks and help him out and pretty much watch his back because he could trust me and he knew that I wasn't going to come rob him when he wasn't there, everything else. And him and his wife had a lot of trust for me. So they moved me in their house and I started going with him and became part of the business. And after a certain amount of time, I became a cook myself because I'm spending 3 days a week inside of a lab with this guy and watching him and helping him hands on. And next thing I know, I'm a full-fledged cook and I learned from the best. And his name's Gary Nolan. He's still in federal prison right now. He got a life sentence on this case that I'm on. I got 20 years. He got more time than me because he had an 8-point enhancement on the federal sentencing guidelines. I didn't know how it worked back then, but it turned out we cooked for 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, and we skated under the radar. And we were putting together some heavy poundage. As a matter of fact, it can be proven that we were probably the biggest cooks at the time in the Northern District of Oklahoma. And that was said by the federal judge, by the federal prosecutor, by the DEA. Everybody out here let us know that when we had gotten busted. So after I was pretty much out of the game in 2005 into 2004 because we couldn't get the precursors no more, the chemicals and stuff like that, because we were picking up, pallets of Max brands at a time for like $20,000, and all that stuff went away. So in 2004, middle of 2004, got out of the game, pretty much still partying. That never stopped, but the business side was over with. So, I mean, I had made it, it's like, now it's time to go get a driver's license and insurance and go get a job and just party and live my life because we had a good run at it, made a lot of money and stuff like that. And so beginning of 2006, I come home from the grocery store one day and it was 11 o'clock in the morning. And the old story about you're sitting in your house and the cops kick in the door. Well, they didn't kick my door in. they were inside my house when I came home. You had the DEA, the ATF, the U.S. Marshals. You had the Tulsa PD, Tulsa County Sheriff, Rogers County, Claremore City Police. You had everyone that had me in their jurisdiction during the course of my conspiracy was there to fucking get their hands in on the arrest. I pulled up to my house and had a gun put in my ear, and it turned out it was a cop. I wasn't going to be robbed. I wasn't in the game no more. And they told me why they were there, and they sat me down at my kitchen table, had me cuffed and everything, and told me I was being indicted by the United States government for federal conspiracy. And I kind of knew it might be coming down, but for years, me and Gary cooked, and we didn't have no worries because we knew for a fact that if we had gotten busted before this, while we were in the middle of the game by the state, we weren't going to do no time because everyone's doing 3, 4, 5 on a 20-year sentence. They're doing 6 years in the state. So it really wasn't that big of a deal. You know, we didn't think we were going to get wiped out.
When them other guys knock on the door, it gets real serious, don't it?
Yeah, when these guys knock and come and they play for keeps, man. Like I said, when they put you away for 20 years, you're going to do 17 and a half of it if you don't lose no good time. Well, anyways, I kind of knew it might be coming down because Gary had gotten indicted a year before me as a fall partner, but not as a co-defendant. And my conspiracy was separate. I had people under me. I was the number one on mine. He was the number one on his because we had split up at some point in the game. And it was in the Tulsa world. He had gotten a life sentence for methamphetamine conspiracy. So when they showed up, I mean, I thought I was washed up at that time, which I pretty much was, but not to the extent he was. And in my house, I lived in the country, so I had a shotgun to go out and play with in the yard and shoot snakes with and all that stuff. Did I use it to protect my drugs? No, I didn't need to. You know what I mean? It's like nobody knew where I was, what I was doing, and when I was doing it, so I didn't have to run around with a gun on me. But they found a gun. I thought, no big deal. I mean, I've got this 36 count conspiracy. Why am I worried about the gun? So they took me to the Tulsa County Jail. Turns out on my birthday, 4 months later, an indictment comes in for a 924C. I didn't even know what that was. But when that came in, I thought, so I'm already think I'm wiped out on this deal. Now I've got this other case, and I'm sitting in the Tulsa County Jail, and all I keep hearing about is, well, you're lucky you're going fed. Oh, you're so lucky. You're going to have golf courses. You're going to have go-karts there. You're going to have everything there. You're going to have strippers there. I mean, you heard all this BS and how soft it was and everything else. Well, I've ran my deal out for about 10 months. And right before we picked jury, I decided I was going to plead out. And I pled out to 228 months, which was a good deal. You know, my first time going to prison.
Let me stop you for a minute. You plead out to nearly what? 228 months is what, like 18 years?
19 years.
So you plead out to 19 years. How old were you when you were arrested?
38.
38? You were 38 at the time you were arrested?
Yeah, 38. 38.
Damn, bro. How old are you now?
I'm 54.
Prison,
I found out
been good to you.
When I found out when I got out of prison, they got this stuff called Just for Men, and it takes about 20 years off. If I didn't color my beard, you'd probably be thinking I was 60.
It's all good. So you end up going to prison. You get all this 19 years, man, and at that age, you had to be thinking like, damn, man, you start counting like how old you were going to be.
Listen, well, first of all, you know, for the longest period of time, I thought I was going to get a life sentence because I was Gary's partner. I didn't realize that his extra 8 points were for something else that had to do with nothing to do with me and him. He had children at the time of the conspiracy, and I didn't. And they gave him 2 counts of child endangerment, even though he didn't endanger his children. But that's the feds. You know what I'm saying? And we were both level 38. So I pled out to level 35, and it took me down to 168 months for the drugs. And then they put this 924C. And when I went to my plea or whatever it is, where you say that you're guilty. The judge said to me, he said, so did you use this gun to brandish it to protect your drugs in the course of business? And I looked at my lawyer and said, what? And my lawyer said, do it. It's the best thing. Man, I went along. I mean, I'm scared as hell, man. I'm all by myself in the world, sitting in county jail. I'm in front of a federal judge. I'm about to get wiped out. And I had no idea that just having a gun in your house makes you guilty for a 924C, and people don't realize that these guys running around playing with guns and stuff like that. The feds get their clamps in you over a gun, you know. You know. And what if I would have had a second gun in that house, Chad? You know what I mean? Hell, you know the deal on that. So, anyways, I ended up getting sentenced, and at my sentencing, I asked to stay in Oklahoma because I love it out here. I didn't want to go somewhere else. So I had super low points. I have no criminal history, no violence, no nothing. So they ended up sending me to a medium instead of a low because it kept me in Oklahoma. The judge did me that favor for whatever reason he did it. I don't know, but that's what I asked and requested, and he said he would do it. So I ended up going to El Reno medium, and like I said, all the urban tales of how nice it is and everything else. Well, when it comes to prisons, El Reno's probably the nicest prison in the system. But my first day walking in the door, it was nothing like I would expect. As soon as I walked in that unit, you've got nothing but. I'm thinking I'm going to see a bunch of dudes that look like lawyers and doctors. Well, no, there's just a bunch of dudes that are tatted from the top of their head to the bottom of their toes, and everyone's up in your face asking you who you are. Just normal prison stuff. And luckily, I was a white boy, so I got taken in right away, and it was easy. But if I would have been Hispanic, man, these dudes are lining up with their boots on, undressing dudes come in the door, get in the cell. Who are you? Who you with? Take your clothes off. Let's see your tattoos. And the smash out happened in the cells right at that moment. So I'm immediately showing up at a place that I was told, like I said, it's going to have go-kart tracks. You're going to have movies. It's the feds. And it was nothing nice. And this is one of the nicer prisons. And as far as the violence level goes, no comparison to a USP. I'd say the comparison between a FCI and a USP is like the NFL and a junior college football team, and that's probably about the same. The worst day in a medium is like the best day in a USP. But let me tell you something: those worst days came just like any place else. It was prison, and there was some pretty.
Well, El Reno, listen, El Reno is known to be a nice place, but also they had violence there. I mean, it's known to have violence.
And well, it was there. Most of the violence there was, every day there was a good fist fight somewhere on that yard. And them Mexicans, they're treacherous. You got everything but the Paisas and the Serranos there. You've got all the other gangs there, and those dudes are serious. It don't matter if they're a medium or a USP. Those dudes are serious, man.
And when they take care of their... Listen to me for a minute. I want to take you back to when dudes come in off the bus. People are like, smash them out. Some of the people don't know. I mean, we've been to prison, so we know. But what you're talking about, as soon as they come in or they take them in the cell, they undress them to see what tattoos they got. See if they're, if a Paisa shows up and there's a TS there, they're smashing them on sight, like right in the cell. Hey, man, take your clothes off. I want to see your tattoos. And they smash them. That's what you meant, right? Like beat the shit out of them?
Oh, yeah. It might happen right there in the day room. It might happen in the cell. Most of the time, I mean, it was within 3 minutes. They were getting locked in the head and running for their life and getting smashed out by 5 or 6 dudes. Or sometimes they'd sleep them and take them to chow and get them on the way to chow out there on the walkway so they can get more time in on them. Because out there they can get about 2 or 3 minutes in before it got broken up. You know what I'm saying? So, and it was every other Thursday a bus came in, and every other Thursday they would do some good smashing, and they would smash to the point to where you thought dudes were dead. Dudes sitting out in the dugout, laying there for who knows how long, because this place wasn't the way the security was set up there. It was an old prison, so a guy could get smashed out on the yard and lay out there for 35 minutes before they knew he was there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, John, I do. Let me ask you this. What were you thinking the first time you seen someone just get smashed and left out there? Were you like, this is federal prison? This is the place?
Yeah, well, what I was thinking was, I better fucking walk the line because this isn't what I was told it was. Wherever you go in prison, it's a place for men. And if you don't conduct yourself as a man, whether you're at a medium or at a USP, you're going to get stabbed up. At a medium, you're going to get booted out. You know what I mean? And we had stabbings there and stuff like that. Not amongst not amongst the white race, but those Mexicans, they would still stab. They didn't care that they were at a medium. Someone violated. They were coming. We had an incident on the yard where the Aztecas got outside and all the white boys went outside, and we were going to get down, and they were all standing out there with their pieces like this. You know what I'm saying? And they were ready to stab us up if we went, and we didn't go because the shot callers got together, decided it's better off we don't go. but that kind of stuff happened on a regular basis where you'd fall out on the yard with your boots, and maybe we're going to do it, maybe we're not. It was just over a fist fight. Like if a white boy fought with a Mexican, everybody know boot up. And there was more white boys on that yard than any yard I've been to, but about 50% of them were woods. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of ABTs over there when you were there.
Yeah, a lot of them. You had Aryan Circle, Dirty White Boys, stuff like that. You had all that stuff there big time because where it's situated is right in the middle of the country, right above Texas. So basically, it's a Texas line. They told me when I came in, because the majority of the inmates were from Texas, because Texas has got 27 million people. Oklahoma's got 3 million people. So by numbers, you're going to have more people from Texas there because it's only 200 miles from the Texas line. So you had all those gangs, and then you had all the Texas Hispanic gangs because they can't go to other yards. You know that,
Let's talk. Yeah, I mean, Hispanic gangs can be on certain yards they can't. This certain Hispanic group can be in El Reno. These guys, they can't be in Beaumont. But anyway, you end up, I mean, you're riding with the white car when you get there, and something ends up happening with the Texas Emmy over there, right? What happens with that?
Yeah, it did. It was May 8th, 2009. I know the date because I was personally involved in it. We had a lot of incidents over the time I was there. I was only there for 2.5 years. I spent 12 of those months in the shoe. From the time I got there, as soon as I walked in the door, one of my best friends was there, and he moved me in his cell. I was in his cell for, I'd say, a week, and I came home from breakfast and someone beat his brains out with a lock while he was sleeping. So I got locked up for it because I was a cellie, SIS investigation. Even though I didn't do it, I got locked up for it. They had thought I did it for a period of time, but I had no reason to do that. But it was over a cigarette debt, and then I got out. I was out for a few months, and then we had to take care of business on some guys that lied on the yard. If you lie to the yard, that's a beat down offense. And 3 dudes from another state that were part of a car from another state, they lied to the yard about one of their homeboys. So we went to the gym and we ended up smashing them because we're from Oklahoma. We had to do the smashing. And I got out after that. I was in like 5 months in the shoe for 5 months on that deal, thinking I was going to get shipped, and I never got shipped. And I was out for a few months, and every time I'd get my unicorn job and start to do good, something else would come up. And on a Saturday afternoon, they were having a soccer game out on the yard, and it was different than California yards where you'd have white boys and Mexicans mixed together playing soccer and stuff like that, right? Same teams type of deal. And a Texas white boy, a really good dude, man, named Brandon Blue. He's got some hands too. Redheaded Irish dude. He's got some really good hands. He ended up getting down with the dude on the soccer field, and he was whooping him so bad that they jumped on him. So they sent everyone back to the units. And as soon as they got back to their unit, well, it was a Texas Emmy, which, let's clarify, that's not the California Emmy. That's a whole different deal. Not even the same book. You know what I'm saying? They immediately went and got their shit because they knew it was going to go down. Well, those Texas Independents and the Oklahoma boys, they smashed them. Well, they got down pretty bad. The Mexican dudes were playing for keeps with knives and stuff like that. The white boys just overpowered them with their hand game because they had numbers on them. Plus, they're some pretty tough dudes, those Texas boys and Oklahoma boys. You know what I mean? Big hosses. They beat the crap out of them. But a lot of white boys. One white boy got stabbed, and everybody came out of that unit bloody. Well, they locked down the prison, and we could see out C unit window that 15 minutes later, they were bringing the golf cart back there and hauling dudes off. One dude's laying on a stretcher type of deal, and everybody's walking out. All of our homeboys are walking out bloodied up, and everybody was bloodied up. It was a big fight going on in there. And so they locked down the prison for 3 days because El Reno, it's a different kind of prison. It's the only prison I've ever been to where the doors don't have bean holes on them. So it's not made for a lockdown. So after 3 days, they decided, they're going to let us go to modified and go to chow. And as soon as they opened up our doors, everyone's filed down to my cell. And the Texas guys came in there because we got along really good with them dudes because they're like our neighbors. You know what I mean? Other than football, we'll fight over a football game. But other than that, we all got along real good. We decided that, we had some in our unit, and we were going to make sure we cleaned them up. And so we went to chow. When we came back from chow, the unit was full of cert and all that stuff just for security reasons. And when they went to lock the doors, we bum rushed them up in the corner of the unit up where their cells were, because all their cells were in one area. And we went in there and we smashed them so we could get them off the yard. You know what I'm saying? And when that went down, I was in prison and all, and I had a bunch of time to do. But like you, Chad, I never wanted to use a weapon to where I'd spend the rest of my life in prison. So we went at it. We smashed them off the yard like you would just smash a white boy off the yard, boots and fists and everything like that. And at that point, the prison got locked down for 2 weeks with no bean holes. How would that happen? But and they put us all in the shoe, and they shipped us all. So we ended up all getting split up after that. And
let me ask you this: so you guys attacked these Texas Emmy dudes because of what happened on the soccer field or whatever, and you're thinking, look, we're going to smash these dudes and get them off the yard, and really you guys end up getting shot off the yard, right? Or was it everybody?
Everybody got shot off the yard, and we didn't care about getting shot off. I personally didn't care about getting shot off the yard, because even though it was in my home state, I didn't like it there, man. It was just a bad vibe place. I thought there would be a better place to go than that. And so when it happened, I wasn't happy that I was going to get shipped all the way across the country, but I was kind of relieved, because I walked in that door of that prison and decided from the get-go I was going to be involved in bullshit. And I was. So I was constantly involved in stuff, and I kind of wanted just to get away. You know what I mean? And a lot of the other guys, they didn't like it there, because the staff there was really, really dirty towards the inmates. They talked dirty to them. They called them names. They tore their cell. It was just a different kind of prison, man. It was a lot different than where I ended up going, where you were respected amongst the inmates and amongst the staff when I showed up at my next place. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. John, let me ask you this. So when you guys are fighting Tony, what did I say, yeah. John?
But that's my middle name, so it counts.
I'm sorry. Hey,
it's okay.
So let me ask you this, Tony. I'm doing a case for a guy named John Gordon. That's probably why it's on my mind.
That's anyway,
okay. So let me ask you this: when you guys are up there fighting with these dudes, right?
Yeah.
What is it? 10 on 5? Is it 10 on 10?
No,
they got weapons. You guys.
We didn't go up there to get them one-on-one. We went up there to take them off the yard. So it was about 9 or 10 of us on 3 of them.
It really wasn't a big riot, but it was a little thing in the unit where,
it was just an old-fashioned smash out. That's all it was.
Yelling? Were they screaming? Were they running? What's going on when this is happening?
Oh no, they're not punks. They stood and tried to fight, but they got beat. I mean, how could they not get beat? But like I said, we didn't show up to say, okay, let's get this fair. We showed up to say, you got to go. So we showed up with numbers, and in order to get there, we had to run through them cops, and all I heard behind my head was, go to your cells, go to your cells. They didn't even worry about us. They let us do our thing. They just locked the rest of the unit down. Boom, boom, boom. And then they got us.
That's what I want people to know too. Like when something like that's happening, they don't come to stop you right away. They're telling people to lock down. They're locking the people down that will lock down. Then they'll get to you a little bit later. So even though you didn't use weapons, you could have killed them dudes up there probably. Good possibility that could have happened.
We were putting the boots to them. We're definitely putting the boots to them.
Now you get transferred. Where do you go after El Reno? But hold on, wait a minute, because I want to talk about El Reno for a second. El Reno is one of the prisons that everybody says is one of the best prisons. Even Obama was one of the first presidents in 50 years to visit a federal prison, or maybe ever.
Ever.
And he goes to El Reno, right? Were you there when that happens?
Yeah, it turned out years and years later, I stayed out of trouble, and because of my low points, right before I ended my incarceration, I went to a minimum security. So I ended up outside the fence there. And while I was there, that's when Obama came. And it was crazy how that all happened. The president of the United States is showing up, and now all we're thinking is, man, we're going home, because he's talking about fixing everything. Well, he didn't fix nothing, but it was more of a political ploy. You know what I mean? He was filming a movie for Netflix or HBO called something, and they were filming a movie, and that was part of it. And the reason why they use El Reno, because El Reno is like the flagship of the BOP. It's one of the oldest prisons, It's not as old as Leavenworth, but it's from the beginning times. And it's got grass, it's got trees, it's got a nice gymnasium. I mean, it's an old prison, but it's kind of like it's a medium, but it's kind of like a low compound wise with opened up. And like I said, you got trees on the compound where everywhere I went after that, you didn't have trees. You had a nice grass, you had flowers, you had, and all the inmates had to walk around in their khakis tucked in. It was just it was almost like a military type of deal compared to where I went to, where we walked into the chow hut at lunchtime with our shirts untucked and our hats on backwards.
So check this out, right? I always give people, credit where credit's due. I don't care for Joe Biden, but I'm going to say this about Obama because you said, oh, he didn't do nothing, right? I'm not a big Obama fan, but I was a fan of some of the stuff that he did. He did a bunch of clemencies. He should have done thousands and thousands of them. He did, get the 2 points, the first 2 points they came out, the crack amendment.
He signed that, but the Sentencing Commission did that. Every 30 years they review that.
Well, I mean, he passed the legislation, bro. I mean, we're not going to argue politics, but, and listen, I got out based on Trump passing the First Step Act, so I'm forever grateful. If not, I'd still be sitting in prison, and we wouldn't be doing this right here. But you know what? I think he started the conversation. I think Trump banged some good stuff in there. And you know what? I think it fizzled out with Joe Biden because he's done absolutely nothing on criminal justice reform, which makes me dislike the guy. But
Joe Biden's a puppet, and I'm not much for Obama either. But at the same time, he stood his own ground. I mean, he was his own man. I mean, I didn't like him, but Biden's a puppet, so he's going to do what he's told. So it's a different deal.
Like anybody that gives people a second chance, that deserves a second chance. So if Joe Biden starts giving out second chances right now, then I'm all for it. But if not, then I could care less. There's plenty of people that you've met, like your co-defendant, that ended up with a life sentence. He's still sitting in prison when, they could pass some legislation. They can make the First Step Act stuff retroactive. But we're not going to put the lawyer hat on today. You end up going to another prison when you leave El Reno. Where do you go?
I went to Victorville 1, and I didn't know, I had some mixed feelings about that because when we were out at El Reno, there was a urban tale that went around the prison that if you were from Texas or Oklahoma and you showed up on a California yard, it was smash on site. And I never could understand that, but that's what I was told. So when they came down that hallway and told everybody where they were going, when they said, Collins, you're going to Victorville, all the other white boys on the range said, fuck, bro. Make us proud, bro. She meaning like go get yourself smashed. Don't check in type thing, And so, I didn't know what to expect. And plus, one of the altercations I was in while I was at El Reno, a year before this last one, had to do with some guys from California. And I was originally from California and moved to Oklahoma, and I didn't understand true prison politics. And it's a no-no to go against your homeboys in that system if you're in California. And I didn't know this. I thought I was doing the right thing for the yard when I did it. So I in my mind thought when I got to Victorville, I thought I was going to get smashed. And I not only thought it, I was told it by everybody else. So it was like one step at a time coming out of R&D, going to my unit. And I took every step, you know what I'm saying? And found out when I got there that if you're a good white boy, you're a good white boy, you know what I mean? And those guys that came out there from Texas and Oklahoma that did get smashed, they either violated on the yard or maybe they showed up with something in their closet that they found out about. Because one thing about Victorville as opposed to El Reno was everybody stood together when it came to their car. And amongst the whites, there was no cars. There was just one car. If you had white skin, you were underneath that car. And if you violated any way, there was no question about it. You were going to get smashed. And from the very first day I was there, I seen that going on, and I kind of liked it because I had gotten all my time and I didn't tell on no one. I probably could have got a 5-year sentence, and I got the whole thing because I decided I wasn't going to tell on nobody. So when I found out there was people that were rats and stuff getting smashed on that yard, it made me happy. As far as child molesters go, that medium there wasn't one, because SIS wouldn't put them on that yard because they knew what would happen if they got found out.
Victorville's a dangerous place. I mean, the USP is definitely dangerous. Even the 1 and the 2 are known for being dangerous places. Prison politics. California Yard, they're politicking, man. West Coast politics reigns supreme over there, right?
Oh, it was like I had no idea. When I was at El Reno, you held your cell down, and if you lost your cellie on a Thursday afternoon, they might try to put another race in your cell, and the only way you could deal with that was with your fists. It was a different kind of time. When you showed up at Victorville, there was no question you were going to go live with your kind. They weren't even going to try, and it wasn't a USP as far as everybody's getting hacked up and stuff like that when they violated, but the politics were the exact same as across the street, and it was like that because the guys from across the street came over, and when they came over, they ran that yard. You know what I'm saying? When they came down as security points, and you had your white table, your white TV over in rec. You had your white area. That's a white drum set. Bocce balls for the whites today and for the Mexicans tomorrow, and everything was completely separated. You had two lines going in chow. You had the whites and the Mexicans on one side, the black on the other side. It was straight up California politics. There was no question about it, and I liked it because there was less chaos. Even though there was as much violence, there was less chaos.
If things happened over there for serious violations, they didn't just happen. I mean, if you did something and you violated, they took care of business right away, right?
Well, like, I'll give you an example. If you use the N-word at El Reno, the person that heard you say it, the black guy, he would have an opportunity to go get a one-on-one with you in the bathroom. If you use the N-word at Victorville, the white boys were going to smash you off the yard. That's how it went. Just like it was where you were at in that sense. You know what I mean? Yeah, they handled their business there.
Let me ask you this. Out of all the time you did, what'd you do? How much time did you do straight?
14.
You did 14 years. Who do you think was the most dangerous? Because you were West Coast politics, you were down south, you were in some places that are serious places. Who do you think was the most dangerous prison gang or organization?
Oh, I know who it was. And I've seen it with my own eyes. It was the Serranos. And I'm going to tell you something. At Victorville, I think it was 2010 or 11. They started bringing the blacks from the South out there, right? I don't know what they call it, if it's called the Dirty South or what it was, but it was a whole different group of guys than the California. The black guys in California were really laid back, respectful, followed the politics. I mean, they were cool. You know what I'm saying? But the guys like the ones that were at El Reno, those kind of guys started coming out there, and they wanted to buck the system. And we had our own microwaves, right? So the whites had one, the Pisces had one, the Serranos had one, the blacks had one, and I guess there was a Serrano microwave was open, nobody was using it, and one of them guys from the South came over and decided he's going to put his food in there for whatever reason, and all the other guys said, "Man, you can't do that." Well, when the Serranos found out about that issue right there turned into that dude decided he wanted to go out to the yard with one of the Serranos and have a fist fight with them. Well, the Serranos let it happen. And all the California blacks, they said, "We're out." They let the shot callers from the Serranos know, "We've been here for 15 years. We're not part of this." And all them dudes went to the yard, probably about 45 of them. And them Serranos were out there. And as soon as that dude threw the first punch, man, they messed them up so bad. We were locked down for 45 days on that deal. I'm surprised no one died. I don't know how no one died, because we're not talking about normal smash up. We're talking about the Serranos putting their work in, and they messed them dudes up so bad. I mean, there was no hesitation, and we were up in the unit when it happened. So, we knew it was going to happen. So everyone stayed in, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. And when I went to Hurlong, the same deal. The Serranos.
Look, man, you end up making it out of prison. You do 14 years in federal prison. You get out. I thought you were, man, 44, 45 years old, but you get out of prison. How long you been out right now?
25 months. 25 months. In 3 days from now, it'll be 25 months. I got out January 18th, so it has been 25. January 18th, 2020.
Coming back into society, was it tough?
No. the worst thing I dealt with coming back to society was sitting in the passenger seat of a car going down the freeway. It freaked me the hell out. It scared me more than anything, watching people drive by doing 70, 80 miles per hour. I mean, you're not in a car for all those years, and all of a sudden you're in this moving vehicle hauling butt down. That tripped me out. But the coming back, I didn't allow it to. I got my mind right. I got my mind right on how I thought about things. The last 3 years I was in, I didn't know I was going to go home as soon as I was. As a matter of fact, when Trump passed that deal for the 85%, it knocked so much time off my sentence that I thought I had 6-7 months to go, and got called in the office one day and, hey, you're going home in 2 weeks. It was like that. But no, what really tripped me out was trying to get a job, because everything had to be done over a cell phone. Okay. And nobody knows who you are over a cell phone. And so when you have a 25-year hole in your work history and you're putting that in on a cell phone, that was tough. But I had a buddy that got me a job when I got out. It was a little $13 an hour job, and I worked 60, 70 hours a week and made like $950 right off the get. Put all that time in with that overtime. And what I did was I got my CDL. I did that on my own. I went and got my CDL, and I worked the swing shift, and I spent my mornings driving around to these different companies, and got every place I went told me to get lost. And the last place I went, walked in, and it was just a bunch of old country boy, blue collar workers and stuff. And they sat there and listened to me talk and said, we'll give you a chance. And I've been there ever since, But as far as coming home, no, I looked at it as exciting, adventurous. I try to frame it in my mind. Like, I hear people talk about going in Walmart and stuff like that, freaking out, and I could understand, like, a guy that's done a bunch of time in a pen coming home, he's going to have a different situation than I had. And I understand that, respect that. I was lucky enough to go to a minimum my last few years, and that gets you close to coming home. You know what I mean? And you're around a different mentality. But I framed everything in my mind as like an adventure, instead of like, the best example is like guys coming home from war. Some guys come home with stories, and some guys come home broken, and it's all how you put it in your mind. So I learned how to frame my mind, everything in a positive way. So the only thing I tripped out on coming home was cell phones and sitting in the passenger seat of a car.
No doubt. So now you're home. I know you got a girl, and you're living your best. Are you living your best life, man? You happy just to be free?
Oh yeah, it's great. I got a girl. I got stepkids. This phone I'm talking on right now, my teenage stepdaughter made it possible for me to Zoom call you right now. I got a beautiful girl. The worst day out here is 1,000 times better than the best day in there, because you can turn it around out here. Because a bad day out here is mostly mental. You how you think about it. But in there, it is bad. The best day in there, Christmas, when you get your meal and you're sitting around and there's usually nothing goes down, is the worst day. You know what I mean? I used to lay, when I first started my sentence, and I was at Victorville laying on my bunk, and they'd be unlocking them doors in the morning, and you had to get up, because you had to get up there and go down by the TV, just like where you were at. I would say to myself, God, I hate my life. Every day. I wake up every day now happy, and sometimes I go to work at 2 a.m. and I'm happy.
That's what's up. You're out here, you're making good money, you're living a good life. You go home and you eat dinner with your family, which I'm going to have to do because it's getting late. But it's just a good feeling to be free, right?
It's the best feeling in the world. It's like every now and then it sinks in. It happens about once every 3-4 weeks. I'll have this moment standing in the kitchen, or when I'm driving my truck down the road at work or something, and it'll sink in that, wow, I'm here. And over the last 2 years, that's what it's been. It hasn't been like one moment, the moment I walked out. It's like every now and then I'll just realize, hey, I'm here and I'm making it happen. You know what I mean? And I was blessed to find a really good job, man. Where I'm not struggling. I'm not in the dope game, and I don't make that kind of money no more, but I make enough money to where I don't worry about anything, and that feels good. And it could be a whole different situation. I stumbled in on a good situation, whether I did it myself in my mind or not. Some guys get out and they do struggle, man. And I know that, and they don't have I didn't have anyone when I got out, but I had a person. His name is Travis Paul Roberts, man. And the whole time I was in prison, this friend of mine rode with me. He flew to California to visit me while I was out there in Lompoc. And he didn't sit there and hold my hand when I got out. He wanted me to learn on my own, but he did a couple of things that got me going. You know what I mean? And plus, his family showed me the love. Some people don't have that. So I could sit here and talk about how good my situation is, and it is. But I do understand it's not that same for everybody. Some people struggle and they can't help it, and they didn't find it in their mind, or when they get out here, if a person has nothing, I was at that minimum, and you know what we did before I got out? We went and got a driver's license. I mean, how much did that help? You know what I mean? How much did that help? I mean, so yeah, it's good for me, but I still respect and understand that for other people, it is a struggle. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I could say that I would have no sympathy for, that I do have sympathy for guys that do a lot of time and do hard time and come out with nobody and they do struggle. The only thing I have no sympathy for is getting out and get back on drugs. That's just ridiculous to me. But everything else, I understand and respect. You know what I mean? I'm blessed,
We all got, something, man. We all got our own struggles, but your message today, man, is a message of hope. Some people do get out and they struggle, and they don't have reentry housing. And I'm telling you now, next year at this time, I'm putting together a reentry house out here. That's my next goal, and
Yeah.
that's what my buddy's doing it in North Carolina, Cedric Dean. I'm going to do it here in my city. I'd like to do it in Vermont, a couple different places, but because people do need it, man. They need that transition. They need that base. If not, man, they're going to fail. But before we go, what message do you have for the dudes coming home from prison? Don't even have to be the kids today. Just dudes coming home from prison just like you did 14, 15 years. They're like, damn, man, I'm getting out in the world, man. And what message would you have for them?
This is going to sound crazy because it's kind of direct and it applies to me myself. But when you've been down a long time and you were in the game ahead of time, you got that blank work history and all that stuff. There's not a whole lot you can do that's going to make enough money to make you satisfied to be out here. You might get stuck in a real low paying job and you just feel like you're hopeless, but man, get your CDL. And when you're in your reentry house, like that one that you want to set up, there's government granting for that, for these guys. And maybe that's not what somebody wants to do with their life. That's not what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be an astronaut. Just kidding. But look, but when you come home and you can jump into a $65,000, $70,000 a year job right away, hey, and so you can't, when you come home, you might not be able to do what you want right at first. And if you're 55 years old, like I am, 54 years old, you may never do what you wanted to do when you were young, but find something that pays good and just go to work every day. And when you have your troubles at work, because you're going to deal with people out here that aren't like the people when you were in prison. There's lack of respect. There's lack of communication. There's back talk and all that stuff. You can't look at it the same way as you were in there and just take a dude off in the bathroom and beat the crap out of him. You can sometimes, but most of the time you just got to learn just to roll with it, because it's all about making money and making it happen out here. And if you're stuck going back to the county jail because you want to beat people up in Walmart and stuff like that, you got to look past that, because the only way to make it out here is to be able to get up and go to work every day, man. You got to get up every day and go to work, and find yourself a good woman too. It makes a huge difference. I got a great woman, man. You know what I'm saying? It makes a huge difference. Just like you, Chad, you know what I mean? Behind every good man's a good woman. But yeah, and just you got to put aside that whole knucklehead thing, because even though it's what a lot of guys want to do when they're in Walmart, someone cuts in front of them, you'll be doing that every single day out here if you live by that code. You just got to learn just to laugh it off, man.
And it's tough. It's tough sometimes to have to laugh it off, but you know what, man? It's better than, like you said, beating the dude up. Now you don't have a job. You're in the county jail. You got a post-supervised release violation. Man, just let that stuff go. Brush it off your shoulder. It's not that serious. So,
it sucks having to think like that from the places you come from and from some of the places I was at and the places we were at. That's considered being punked. But out here, it's all about making money, man. It's all about having a job and making money and paying bills. And you can't do that if you're beating everybody up every weekend because they were looking at you in line or something. I mean, if someone grabs your old lady's ass, it's go time. But besides that, I mean, hey, fuck it.
All good. Listen, man, I'm going to close the show and just tell you, man, I appreciate you coming on, sharing your stories, sharing your experiences, man. Blood on the Razor Wire TV, with respect. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. With respect, until tomorrow, we're out.